afternoon. I'm Michael Burchick. I will be your moderator for this afternoon. And the program that we'll be discussing have to do with Information Project for Africa, and more specifically, the subject will be on contraceptive imperialism as it is now occurring there in Africa. To explain to us what this is all about, we have John Cavanaugh and Samuel Adewesi. Welcome aboard to both of you.
Thank you, sir.
John, I will let you start the program and see what we have, information we can pass on to the...
Thank you. Thank you. Well, first, maybe I should take just a moment and explain why the Vatican is using this phrase now, this phrase contraceptive imperialism, and what it is. The word imperialism refers to a group of people, a small elitist group of people in one land, imposing their values on someone else, and that is happening all over the world now with questions of population control, with questions of contraception. The American and British, principally, have been working very hard to impose their values on people in other lands. And the place where you see the devastating impact of contraceptive imperialism most clearly is in China. Although we're going to focus on Africa, I just want to talk for just one moment about China and about the American response to the problems in China. And the Chinese government, the communist government in China, has imposed a population control program on its own people. And that program includes an effort to enforce a one-child family policy. And in order to see to it that families have only one child, women across the country have been subjected to governmental or party monitoring of menstrual periods. They've been subjected to enforced insertions of IUDs. They've been subjected to coercive sterilization. There has been some coercive abortion, including late abortion. And all of these programs have eroded tremendously the value for life and have put a lot of pressure on people who want a child, so that although there's a great deal of infanticide, female infanticide now, and that infanticide that's not promoted by the government, but it really does come out of the governmental policies. And the reason for mentioning that is not so much because I want to talk about China this afternoon. I want to talk about the American response to it and then look at what's happening in Africa. The American response to China has been, I think, fascinating. The organizations in the United States that proclaim women's rights, the value of privacy, have turned their backs on China. And the organizations that wave the flag of choice look at coercion in China and make excuses for it. So that the heads of the organizations, of the National Organization for Women and the National Abortion Rights Action League, these organizations have promoted, have supported, have defended massive coercion in China. And so you wonder, why? What really drives these people? They talk about women's rights and they talk about choice, but when you look at their work just over the boundaries of the United States, it looks very different. And they're not working to support women's rights or choice in China. And so right now, there is a massive effort put together largely by the American government to keep down the population in Africa as well as in Asia, but in Africa. And you know, when you look at China, it's a densely populated country. There are a lot of people. There are 1 billion people in China. There are a lot of people there, but Africa doesn't have anything like that. I mean, how can you begin to justify efforts to decrease the population in Africa? And I've just been wondering, struggling. I mean, how would people begin to justify it? And I was fascinated very recently looking at National Geographic magazine. It's a good magazine. I really enjoy National Geographic. But in the most recent issue, it was the May 1991 issue, there was this long article about elephants in Africa. I don't know anything about elephants, but I do know something about baloney. And in this article, there are really two things that were very striking about it. And one was that National Geographic showed a picture of a murder. It showed men pouring out to kill poachers, people who had been poaching African elephant herds. I'm not in favor of poaching. I don't think that it's a good thing to kill elephants to get their tusks and sell them overseas. But you have 2 years ago, Richard Leakey began arming the people who are preserving wildlife in Kenya, and he says that now they've killed about 200 poachers. And it showed a picture of men dressed in paramilitary uniforms, chasing after these poachers and killing them. Now, that's not capital punishment. They didn't go to trial. They were just shot. It's not self-defense, and it's not a just war. But 200 poachers have died. Now that's murder. There's the Catholic tradition, the Christian tradition points to several situations in which you might be able to justify killing. This doesn't fit any of them. This is a person shooting somebody else. Why? Why? And the article takes the side of the elephants and says, you shoot the poachers, the elephants have a chance. Well, what is this passion that drives people to justify killing people in favor of elephants? I still find it baffling. But this article also has a map of Africa, and then finally it seems to me things begin to fall into place and you begin to understand the passion. And the map shows roughly shows Africa divided in three parts. And there's desert in the north, and there's South Africa and the southern tip, and then in between there's land that they want to give to the elephants. Now if you give all of that land to the elephants, then all of a sudden, then you really do have a population problem. Then this huge underpopulated continent begins to look as if you might have a population problem. If you give all of the good land to the elephants, then there's not so much room left for people. And so I think that we are now seeing another large step in a campaign to decrease the black population. We are seeing a racist eugenic effort, and it cropped up as crypto-eugenics, as a hidden eugenic plan in National Geographic, but it's a part of a larger picture, and of course one of the best places to see it is in Nigeria.
I was reading about the elephant elimination the other day, and I was surprised at how devastating it has become. But to what extent has the contraceptive mentality taken in Africa? And the reason I raised that question, I was talking earlier to someone about the family cohesiveness that we have over there. I don't know to what extent this imperialism has been encroaching upon the people, but is it just something that's beginning or has been in effect for some time?
The effort by whites in Europe and in America to persuade blacks in America and in Africa to stop having children, that effort's been going on for some years. The effort has had very limited success. There are hundreds of millions of dollars going into a propaganda effort to persuade blacks in Africa to stop having children, to depopulate themselves. But that campaign so far has been largely unsuccessful, and by God's grace, I hope that it will remain unsuccessful. I think that if the Information Project for Africa can continue to inform African leaders about what the American government is funding in their country, if we can continue to get information about contraceptive imperialism published there, then I think that we can stop or certainly mitigate this damage.